you do not just get sick. You get spelled. A whisper becomes a story. The story becomes a posture. The posture becomes a chemistry. Manly P. Hall said the first physicians were priests. That healing began as temple technology. Old healers hunted the story behind the symptom. They tuned meaning. They tuned timing. They repaired boundaries. Tonight we lift the lid on their clinic. No incense needed. Only pattern recognition. And a little courage to see what is moving you. Modern life writes curses in plain English. Headlines that tighten the chest. Midnight screens that teach your body the wrong sunrise. Endless, open loops that hiss in the background. Medicine is good at broken bones. It is worse at broken narratives. So people medicate the noise and ignore the source. Call it nocebo if you need a lab coat. Call it a hex if you prefer myth. Either way, the nervous system obeys. This is a historical and psychological analysis, not a cure. If you have red flag symptoms, see a clinician. We are here to expose the machinery that links symbol to flesh. An encyclopedist of the occult mapped 7 hidden causes of disease. Spirits that feed on attention. Attitudes that poison the etheric double. Debts that keep the body braced. Stars that do not command but nudge. Misuse and obstruction. 7 doors into the same room. A rebel physician spoke of a vital field that organizes matter. He called it the life fire. Disturb the field and the body copies the error. Treat the field and the flesh follows. Temple medicine built procedures around that hunch. Chant to retune the instrument. Color to steer mood and meaning. Fasting and incubation to let the cure appear in a dream. Talismans and metals keyed to planetary hours. Ritual images laid under the patient like maps. In our century, the robes were stripped off. Belief became a tool. State became the handle. If a symbol changes your physiology, use it. Do not argue about why. That is the lineage we are walking into. Not superstition. Symbolic engineering. Older than hospitals and awkwardly compatible with neuroscience. Next, we compress those 7 causes into 3 master levers. Meaning, timing, boundary. Then we open the clinic doors and show what the old healers actually did. Say the word, proceed. We compress Manly P. Hall's 7 doors into 3 switches you can picture. Meaning, timing, and boundary. First, meaning. This is the story your body believes before you do. Expectation with teeth. A headline becomes an omen. An ache becomes a prophecy. The nervous system prepares for what it expects. Your stress system primes and releases cortisol. Vigilance climbs. Heart rate variability drops. Pain gates in the brainstem open wider. The body turns up the volume on threat. Meaning is a solvent. It can clean the stain. It can also smear it across the fabric. Harmful narratives make catastrophizing easy. Neutral naming and clear reframing turn the volume down. Hall would say, remove the spell. Psychology would say, update the model so the signal stops screaming. Different robes. Same machinery. Timing. The ancients watched the sky for rhythm, not fate. Your body is a clock of clocks. Light tells the master clock when day begins. Dark tells it when to close the gates. Morning light anchors the natural cortisol rise. Evening light delays melatonin and drifts the schedule. Miss the cue and chemistry wanders. Sleep slips. Mood sours. Pain gets loud at the wrong hour. Circadian drift also nudges inflammation upward. Broken REM and deep sleep make emotion control harder. Hall said the stars impel. Today we would say photo period and cadence. Planets or photons, the point is rhythm. When rhythm returns, noise drops. Boundary. Karma here is not cosmic police. It is the drag of unfinished exchanges. Misuse and obstruction are frayed edges and clogged channels. A life of open loops hums like a quiet alarm. Junk input. Jam the signal. Overuse shreds both tissue and schedule. Open loops keep working memory on standby. The salient system keeps scanning. Tiny stress spikes stack up as allostatic load. Boundary is where the story meets the world. What gets in? What gets finished? What stops here? Pre-commitment and clear cues tighten the frontal gate. Completion quiets. Prediction. Cortisol settles. Heart rate variability edges upward. The vagus nerve puts the brake on. Meaning writes the script. Timing sets the tempo. Boundary locks the doors. That is the occult mechanism in plain sight. Belief shapes signal. Light sets chemistry. Limits teach the body it is safe. Next, we open the clinic and show what the old healers actually did with these three. They began with diagnosis at the level of cause. Not the rash, the script beneath it. A priest would say remove the spell. A scientist would say change the context that drives perception and stress. Expectation, bend sensation. Prediction steers pain and mood. When the frame shifts, physiology follows. Sound. In the chamber of sound, they used voice and drum. A steady tone that settled the breath. Ribs humming in resonance. When breath and tone lock, the body follows. Heart rhythm evens. The startle reflex softens. Today we call it the vagal break, or rising heart rate variability. The priest would have called it harmony. Color and light. Further in, the walls glowed with color. Gold for courage. Blue for calm. Green for balance. It sounds like superstition until you remember this. Light sets the body's clocks. Morning brightness cues chemistry to rise. Cooler light at night tells the system to stand down. Change the light, and the body obeys more than the will. Dream incubation. There was a hole for dream incubation. Fasting, silence. Sleeping on consecrated ground with a question in mind. Fasting sharpens attention. Ritual space amplifies suggestion. Sleep stitches memory to emotion and lets patterns surface. The ancients said a genius would visit. We might say a primed nervous system returned a clue by morning. Talismans and metals. On a low table sat talismans and metals. Iron for Mars, copper for Venus. Each cast at its hour carried close. Not trinkets, attention engines. An intention given a body. Psychologists would call this a commitment device, a symbol that watches you back, shaping behavior when willpower is thin. Ritual images. A floor-sized cosmogram. Stars, animals, paths. The patient stood at the center. Images compress meaning into a single glance. Spatial layout recruits memory and feeling together. Stand inside the diagram, and an idea becomes posture. Posture becomes chemistry. Rosicrucian ethos. On the wall, a rule. Heal the sick freely. Offer a universal medicine. Not only a substance, a knowing. Ignorance was named the deepest illness. Clarity reduces fear. Lower fear softens the sympathetic load. Bodies behave better when the mind stops guessing in the dark. Now, putting it together. Temple medicine was choreography. Sound to calm arousal. Light to set timing. Symbol to rewrite meaning. Place and object to keep the change alive. Manly P. Hall would have called it harmony first, matter second. A modern phrasing is context first, chemistry second. The machinery has not moved. Only the language has. The clinic looks archaic. Chants, amulets, painted floors. But every chamber has a mirror in science. Different robes. Same machinery. Expectancy and context. The most powerful medicine is expectation. When the healer carries authority. When the room is charged with symbol. The body reads those cues and shifts state. Placebo is not nothing. It is context-altering physiology. Pain lessens. Mood steadies. Immune tone changes. Exactly what the temple sought with chant and image. Arousal regulation. Steady rhythm. Slow breath. A drone of sound. All reduce sympathetic charge. Monotony is not empty. It is a signal of safety. The vagus nerve engages. Heart rhythm smooths. Muscle tension ebbs. The chant becomes a brake pedal for the nervous system. Chronobiology. Hall spoke of stars that impel, not compel. Planets, hours, alignments. In modern terms, these are timing devices. Your body is full of clocks. Light at dawn anchors the master rhythm. Food, movement, and ritual reinforce it. Synchrony reduces inflammation and stabilizes mood. The ancients built calendars of meaning. Today we call it circadian biology. Identity operations. Talismans and names were never passive charms. They were cognitive levers. A symbol you carry is a reminder that watches you back. Psychologists call it a commitment device. Neuroscience calls it state-dependent recall. An intention tied to an object is harder to forget. The occult clinic knew that attention follows symbol, memory and scent. Incense, herbs, oils, not decoration. Anchors. Olfaction is the fastest road to memory. One scent can unlock an entire state. Pair it with a ritual, and the body recalls the state on cue. The ancients burned resins. We can describe the same process as hippocampal encoding. So the clinic was never just superstition. It was symbolic engineering. Expectation, rhythm, timing, identity, memory. 5 doors that open onto the same machinery we study today. Next, we move from theory to stories. Case files from the occult ward. What healing looked like in practice. Picture the Egyptian clinic. A chamber alive with chant. Vowel sounds stretched into the air like tuning forks. They believed the body could be retuned. Modern language agrees. Steady vibration calms arousal, shifts breath, steadies heart rhythm. Frequency as medicine. Now cross to Greece. The caves of Trophonius. The temples of Asclepios. A patient fasts, then drinks the ritual mixture. They sleep on sacred ground. Dreams deliver diagnosis or cure. Science notes that fasting sharpens salience, suggestion heightens expectation, and sleep weaves insight from fragments. The ancients called it oracular medicine. In another ward, the cure was carried onto the body. Amulets consecrated at the right hour. Copper, iron, silver. Not decorations. Anchors. A portable symbol of order. Psychologists would call them commitment devices. Objects that tighten intention and remind the body it is held. Travel further west, into a desert canyon. The Navajo medicine paintings, sand laid in sacred patterns. The patient placed at the center of the diagram, standing inside a cosmogram, was therapy. Embodied cognition centuries before the phrase existed. And in Europe, a quieter lodge. The Rosicrucian Clinic. Their rule, heal the sick freely. Their universal medicine, not only a substance but a knowing. Ignorance was framed as the deepest illness. Today we could say, education lowers fear, and reduced fear softens the sympathetic load. Isn't this just superstition? Call it symbolic engineering. Expectation, rhythm, timing, and symbol, tools that shape physiology. Where is the proof? You can trace it. Placebo and nocebo. Circadian biology. State-dependent recall. Exposure to ritual context changes outcome. The robes differ, the machinery repeats, and a clear line. This is analysis, not prescription. If symptoms persist or red flags appear, the place to go is still a doctor. Occult healing hunted the story behind the symptom. Hall called it harmony first, matter second. We would phrase it as context before chemistry. But the chase is the same. The clinic is not gone. It is hidden in plain sight. Every headline that spikes your pulse, every light that drifts your clock, every symbol that whispers you into action. The same machinery, the same spellwork. If you want practice, a companion video will take you through modern rites. But here, the task is simpler. Choose one element of the old clinic that struck you. Sound, color, incubation, or talismans. Mark it in the comments. So the archive of cures continues. You have walked through the wards. Chants, lights, dreams, symbols, rules. Ancient procedures with modern mirrors. The hooded figure bows once. The clinic door closes. The seal is drawn. Occult healing was never only about herbs and chants. It was about stories that drive bodies. And stories once seen can be rewritten. Leave your mark below. Seal your place in the chamber. And remember, the story is always the first medicine. Until next time.